This track is very unique for me because it's house meets drum and bass, and didn't really know if it was possible to pull this off, but I've been a fan of Sub Focus for years and reached out to him about producing a record, and he was down, and somehow we made it work, and I'm about to show you guys how today. What's up, my name is John Summit, and today I'll be breaking down my track Go Back with Sub Focus and Julia Church. The way that me and Sub Focus produced this, we first started it together in London to get like kind of the initial production down, and then because we're both touring DJs, you know, we share it back and forth, which is sweet when you both work on the same DAW, so we both work on Ableton. It's gone through many different versions to get here. This says V1.66, which probably means version 60 at this point. So the way this track started is pretty much just with the chords and vocal. That's how I've been kind of writing most of my songs lately, to give it that original bass to kind of produce around with. So you have the chords here, and then we have the vocal on top. You leave me in the stars. But then we also worked with this guy named Eddie Jenkins, who's this classically trained pianist. He's so incredibly talented, and he helped do some kind of extra piano notes on top. So the way the track starts off is just him kind of just doing the piano, which we recorded in London. Kind of gives a little extra feel and motion to the track. I knew it from the start. You leave me in the stars. And then from there, we add some pads. And one thing that Sub Focus loves a lot is a big impact synth. And I believed he used this classic Cashmere Impact Low. You know, when you feel this live at a show, it really commands a lot of attention. So I love using that. And then from there, adding strings and stuff on top. But everything is following the same chord progression pattern, because when you have those original chords, you kind of just follow those melodies, and from there build up the song. And it's also, and that's me talking in the background, which I put that pretty low in the mix, but it helps fill up the mix a little bit. And I think that's something that electronic music misses, is like the human connection. And like I said, there's beauty in perfection. And having things just a little bit offbeat and having things not be absolutely perfect, I think, really makes a track unique. The way I do it with bass is I keep it pretty simple, and just knowing there's like a sub, a mid, and kind of a more higher sounding bass, where you need to be able to feel the bass in the nightclub, which is the sub. But then I think I personally like to hear bass lines on like laptop speakers, on phones, and like actually be able to hear the melody. So that's when the bass layer comes in. So this is just like a preset in Serum. It's loud, it's got a bunch of reverb, but you can clearly hear it. It's basically another synth on top. But you can tell there's no low end, so then easily you gotta add a sub. And then to me, it didn't sound gritty enough, so then we added some mid bass on top. And we have full groove. So for the drums, so this is kind of embarrassing, but it's literally just two different claps I added here. I have a clap and a snare, because the snare is kind of like, you know, just that little snappy sound, and the clap gives it the full body. But for this track specifically, I didn't want the drums to be too heavy on the first drop, because I think the drum and bass part is so much heavier, and it makes it so much bigger when playing out live. I kind of just wanted a groove to get people going before we got into that part. And I kept this very simple in this production versus kind of my older tech house tracks where I have a lot of bongos, percussion. But it's because, first of all, we're at 136 BPM, which is very fast, and you don't have too much room for little extra sounds. And then that the vocal and the melody is carrying the song so much. Yeah, I believe in like in a less is more approach. It's a little tough now, because I used to use the same like hats and claps, and it was drums are really my sound, but now I think the way I use chords and progressions and kind of produce a song out in terms of arrangement and build-ups, I think gives my own sound. Like, I think this little build-up is kind of a quintessential John Summit build-up where it's only 8 bars here. And I'm pretty sure this is the same effect stem from Where You Are, because I love a little pre-drop clap. So it's little things like that. So on the drop of the drum and bass drop, we're pretty much just repeating the vocal over and over and over again. And that can feel a little too repetitive, so I think you need to give some movement. And this is just a super simple trick, is by just slowly low passing the vocal throughout the drop. And we slowly raise it back up, so it kind of just gives a little extra movement to it. One more simple tip, always during a build up you want to auto filter things up to get rid of the low end, and kind of makes you feel like you're, I don't know, gaining energy and then getting lifted up literally. So at the beginning, this pad has some low end to it, and then by the end of the build, it's all in the highs. So, and then this is producer 101. I think every single producer I work with uses Endless Smile, whether they like it or not. It's almost a meme at this point, but it just adds so much reverb and delay that really helps the build up. But here we just use the Fist in the Air preset, which I believe is the initial preset. And then you can hear without it, and then with it. It just it super helps fill up the space, and really, I think, gains the energy. And then by the time you get to the pre-drop vocal, I think it's smart to go fully dry again. Not fully dry, but compared to this though. So the combination of an auto filter up, adding Endless Smile, I think creates an epic build up. And of course we had a giant snare roll and all that good stuff. I've been a fan of Sub Focus for years, and it wasn't until he did like a free download remix of my track Deep End in 2020, and I was like, wow, I've never heard one of my house records get flipped into a drum and bass record. And from then on, I knew that we could do something together and make something work. And so the way we worked this song is that we kind of had 2 original demos. One was a drum and bass version, and one was a house version. I'm of course a house guy, and Sub Focus is a drum and bass guy, but it didn't feel like it was a true collab if we just went one way or the other. So the big challenge here was, of course, doing both.
So this like middle section of the song is like where we put the tempo ramp, and we spent like a long time like trying to finesse this section. We had to make sure that a lot of the instruments were MIDI instruments, so that they would like adapt to the tempo change without sounding weird. So, you know, the more you stretch a sound when it's recorded, sometimes it can sound kind of unnatural. So we spent a long time like smoothing over sections to make sure that the tempo ramp felt really natural and gradual, and like then finessing like the actual curve of what it was, so that we were like not like taking people completely by surprise when it suddenly turns into a drum and bass song at the end.
Production wise, I'm super proud of how we were able to pull off the tempo change with it sounding natural. And at this point, you don't really know where it's going. And it wasn't until we looped the vocal, that's when we did the tempo change. And I think having a loop really helps it sound natural.
John came down to a show I was playing at the Hollywood Palladium, and we played the song together in the same room for the very first time. And it went off, and the reaction was crazy. And it was like, I was kind of worried about like, how are people gonna like receive this? I mean, I think we both were, because it's like weird tempo for both of our sets, but I think the speeding up in the song kind of like really gave a lot of energy, and people responded super well.
During that tempo change, that's when the crowd really starts gaining energy, gaining momentum, and this is like when everyone starts jumping up and dancing. It's my favorite part when I play it out live. And yeah, for this record, it was a little tough because me and Sub Focus have such different mixing styles that I would mix it how I liked it, and then I would send it to him, and then he would mix it to how he liked it, and he would send it back. We were kind of going back and forth, and eventually I was like, I think it sounds good. You think it sounds good? He said, yeah. I'm like, all right, we're good. I do think that's why collaboration is so key, is that you get that, I feel like everyone's their own worst critic, so you get that second opinion on things. What's funny about this too is that Sub Focus doesn't really believe in a master chain, where I very much do so, and I trusted him on the final master on this because he knows exactly where he wants his drum and bass to be at, and so I kind of just mixed my house end as loud as I could without it getting distorted, and then sent it over to him. So, and I try not to get too technical with it, to be honest, because if it sounds good, it sounds good. But yeah, so this track is just, it's fun because it shows that you can do multiple different styles of production, whether it's tech house, drum and bass, but as long as the original sound idea is good, the song idea is good, then you can kind of do whatever you want with it. So yeah, I'm all about breaking rules. I mean, the reason why I make music is to see the crowd reaction and to feel that energy. Like, there's truly nothing like it. And with this track, Go Back, every time I play it, the crowd goes absolutely fucking bonkers. And a lot of people ask, like, do I get like sick of playing my own tracks? And not at all, because the reactions make everything worth it. I'm John Summit. This has been my track breakdown of Go Back. Check it out on Beatport, and see you all soon on the dance floor.